Hello everybody and welcome back. This is a special Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan edition of Mining Modern. I'm Corbin and this is Lantern Control. I love this deck. I know people don't, so up front, this is what we're doing. We're honoring Luis Salvato winning the Pro Tour with Lantern, the original Mining Modern Fringe Rogue deck made good. This is so similar to Amulet Bloom a few years ago, which was this sort of deck that kind of started cropping up and it wasn't really a thing. And, you know, more and more people played it on the fringe. Pros got their hands on it, worked on it. And next thing you know, it was in the finals of a Pro Tour. And that's where we are with Lantern. I first saw this deck and I was kind of, in some ways, I guess, one of the ones that helped bring attention to it in the fact that I spotted Zach Elsick playing this in 2014 at Grand Prix Charlotte. And I just walked up to the guy I was working with and I was like, hey, I see Codex Shredder at table 14, and it's like round 13 of the GP. We gotta check this out. So you go back and look at it. I actually did the very first deck tech ever, you know, for sort of public knowledge of Lantern Control. It looked very different back then, but you know, the core of the deck was the same, and it sort of existed. And then Zach won GP Oklahoma City with it, and next thing you know, here we are. It's winning a Pro Tour. It's awesome. I love it. I played this deck a lot in paper. But here we go. So we're going to honor Lewis's win by showing off the deck. Now, I'll just give you the brief overview here. You can go watch the Pro Tour coverage and get all you want of this deck. But mostly we're an Ensnaring Bridge deck. This card probably shouldn't be legal in Modern in the fact that it just shouldn't exist, right? This is not a good Magic design. But whatever. It works. Ensnaring Bridge, we just empty our hand. Our opponent's creatures can't attack. So baseline, we just shut off all our opponent's creatures. That's pretty good against a lot of Modern. After that, you just make sure they can't burn you to death. You got a Witchbane Orb in the main deck. You make sure they can't do any weird things to combo you. You've got all this discard to get them. And then you make sure they don't draw anything that can be relevant. And you've got Codex Shredder and Pixis of Pandemonium to keep them from drawing stuff. And how do you see it all? Ties it together. Lantern of Insight. You look at the top card of everyone's deck, and then you use your Codex Shredders and your Pixis to keep them from drawing relevant cards. And then the thing that ties the entire deck together, of course, is Whir of Invention. Improvise. You just tap it. You can go get a bridge. You can go get the Grafdigger's Cage to turn off graveyards. You can go get Codex Shredders to mill them. You can go get the bridge, keep them from attacking, go get the Witchbane Orb, have hexproof, etc., etc. We have Pithing Needles to stop planeswalkers or what have you. It even stops Lightning Storm out of ad nauseum. And we have Pyrite Spellbomb, the real win condition of the deck. Am I right? It actually is. You can mill them out by looping this to the top of your deck every turn with the Academy Ruins that you see over here. You can also use it to burn them out because you can do 2 damage and perform that same loop and deal 2 till they're dead with Pyrite Spellbomb. But of course, the most busted cantrip in Modern, Ancient Stirring's also in this deck. You know, I said ties it together. Basically, this deck is just so smooth now between Whir of Invention and Ancient Stirrings and just all these, you know, card draw manipulation effects. This deck is just a lean machine now. But yeah, so we have the 0-drop artifacts. Mox Opal, of course, making mana. Mishra's Bauble allows you to look at the top card of a deck, control it during the game. Also cycles, you can protect draw from discard. We're going to tear apart their hand, and we're just going to build up this board state where you just lock out more and more of their cards as the game goes on. You know, it starts basically with Bridge, and you lock them out from attacking. Okay, well now you have to stop them from destroying your stuff. So you lock them out from Planeswalkers with the Pithing Needles. You lock them out from, you know, flashback stuff with Pixis. You lock them out from Graveyard and Collected Company and things like that with Grafdigger's Cage. And then you just control the draw step, and you only need, you know, you get to play so many hate cards that all get tied together here by Ancient Stirrings and Whir of Invention that you just slowly lock your opponents out of the game, and it gets to where they have fewer and fewer relevant draws, and then you keep them from hitting those couple cards, and eventually they'll die. So that's the deck in a nutshell. It is a prison deck, and I know people don't like it, and I'll get on my soapbox here for just a minute. You've all seen me rage against Tron. I don't think, in terms of what is or isn't fun about Modern, I don't think that getting turn 3 Karned repeatedly is any more fun than getting locked out by Lantern. You know, most of the time people don't scoop when they're dead to Lantern. If you scoop, you'll save yourself 15-20 minutes of time, and you'll still be just as dead. You know, you have a lot of times, Jerry T did this in the PT where he was trying to, you know, come back against a couple mill effects and everything, and he basically was just like, can I scoop? Do the viewers know that I'm actually dead? Because, you know, if you run the odds, you have like a 1 in 1,000 chance of hitting the like 5 things in a row on top of his deck to get out of it. Realistically, it's just not going to happen. So And that's assuming that Louis Salvato did nothing in that scenario, which he obviously would. So people don't scoop when they're dead. And this deck is not that bad. People who play this deck in paper and play it quickly, it goes pretty fast. I don't watch good Lantern players go to time. Now that it won the PT, we'll see more people picking it up and we'll see what happens. But, you know, I understand that people don't like to not play the game, but this is an important deck in Modern in that it helps balance things out. You know, I really don't like Tron. I don't think Tron makes Modern a better format, but I understand when people say it needs to fun police some of the other stuff, and this is one of the things it polices. But at the same time, this deck needs to exist to, you know, police some of the other sort of decks, like the Eldrazi Trons of the world, right? That are just silly, Bant Eldrazi, stuff like that can just really run over you. And I'm just, you know, kind of naming some decks at random here, but the idea is that it is very good against creature decks. Look at the 5-color Humans deck that just dominated the Pro Tour. It was the most popular deck in the room. It's extremely good. It's very, very powerful. And this is an important counter to something like that, because once you've put so many spell effects onto creatures, you have a format that just becomes mid-range The Gathering, where all the things you would usually get from spells out of control decks, so they're just stapled onto creatures now. And that 5 colors Humans deck is the perfect example. You have so many effects attached to bodies, they just get to play a tribal deck with perfect mana while still interacting with the opponent as much as you want. And you do need things to counter that sort of thing. And traditional control can struggle with it because they just get their hand torn apart. But you know what? Ensnaring Bridge exists and it checks that, and this is a sort of deck that's important, and it is beatable. Now, there's a lot of hate for this deck. You can Stony Silence this deck, and yeah, sometimes hate will be beaten. It's just like Affinity. There's lots of great hate cards against Affinity. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but they exist, and if the format plays enough of them, it will adjust and it will push out Lanterns. So I watched the entire Pro Tour, and I'm recording this, you know, Sunday night after the PT to get it to you all as fast as possible, and it was a really, really good tournament. There was a lot of decks in the room. Nothing was more than, I think, 8 or 9% of the metagame or something. It was crazy, and there were only like 9 players in the room even playing Lantern, and one of them top 8'd and one of them won. And that's it. And that's not unhealthy, and there's no need for anything to be banned. I think Modern's in a great place right now. I think something could be unbanned. I think the safest one is Bloodbraid Elf. I think there's more risk to Stoneforge and Jace and so on, but I think that Modern is healthy, and the Pro Tour proved it, and now let's see what we can do if we can add to it. I think Bloodbraid is safe, and I think we'll see where things go from here, but overall, Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan was a huge return for Modern to the Pro Tour stage. It was very popular. Viewership on it seemed to be very high. People were enjoying it. It was a lot of fun, and I want to do it justice by at least trying my best here to play Lantern Control to the best of my ability. So thank you for watching, everybody. This is Mighty Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler, and let's lock some opponents out.